Curtis is with me today, and he shared some of his successes.
And I think it's important that people know I have been through the program 5
Okay.
times, and to go through it one time is obviously a beautiful thing. But man, I think if anybody's really truly serious about continuing to improve yourself, improve the way that you communicate, improve the way that you are emotionally available to your spouse, it is something that you need to continue doing. It's a work in progress, is what it is, Denver. And for me, obviously the first 7 weeks was fantastic. The daily modules and having that 2 times a week one-on-one conversations and being able to ask questions was invaluable.
There's not a lot of other people out there that are helping men save their marriages that understand time is of the essence. Even if we save your marriage for your finances, if she's going off and buying a new car or getting another mortgage or signing a 12-month lease somewhere, then if you guys do get back together, you have the credit issues, and can you afford it? And is that going to push her further because now she's got her own place and it's going to be harder to get back together? And then the longer that you're separated, the more likely she is to go badmouth you to everybody, because you probably have been a jerk a lot of it. And but we quit worrying about what's her fault and what can we do, which always works. That's why I don't tout statistics like some of the competitors that are offering solutions for marriage. It floors me, and I'm like, I would be humiliated to say I have 70% success. Working on your marriage is the easiest thing in the world to do if you have a step-by-step process where somebody says, stop working on the marriage. That's what's killing it, dummy. Let's do the opposite of what you feel like you should do. Let's do the opposite of what you think you should do. And let's stop working on the marriage. Let's stop all of these hard things. And let's just show you how to be happy, attractive to yourself. You like what you see in the mirror, which eventually causes her to say, and she'll run back to you. Because if you've been through a divorce, and especially if you've been through a second divorce or a third divorce, every time you go through that, the next marriage statistically drastically lowers in the success rate statistically, and it also throws those same statistics on your children. Children that have been through a divorce, or especially multiple divorces, are more likely to go through a divorce because no one ever said, I'm going to stand up for this, we're going to figure this out, and we're going to show them how it's done. Let me ask you, you've had some awesome success with the program. Why have you continued it? It's very normal for men to continue the program past the 7 weeks, to opt in for another 7 weeks and another 7 weeks. But what made you make the decision? What was the key factors where you started the second week, the second cycle of 7 week, and the third and the fourth? Like, what made you stick with the program? I mean, you had what you wanted at 4 weeks, but yet not only did you complete the 7 weeks, you went through another 7 weeks and another 7 weeks, and now she's in the 7 weeks with you. What was the deciding factor in that? Why are you still with the program?
Well, I think she probably joined because she started having those almost feelings of missing out on something.
It's more so ignorance, and they try different things and they'll see some success, and then maybe you start have resentment that's building up because she's not trying when you're trying, and she resents because vice versa. And then men, specifically have a tendency to be a little more grouchier than women, which tells her that it's not emotionally safe for you to share anything with me because I'm either going to bitch about it or I'm going to try to fix it. And that makes her just shut down. And then you're like, why don't you want to talk to me? How do I emotionally attract her back? Who do I get to be today and moving forward to increase in my spiritual, physical, intellectual character and emotional attractiveness? How do I emotionally attract her back? I've never been a spiritual person, maybe, which I was a spiritual person, but maybe if you're not and you're holding on to this story that I can't increase in spiritual attractiveness, if that's attractive to her, you better damn well figure that out and let go of your stories. And there may be truth to there's a lot of things that we can't do, But that was the old us. The new season, the new way of thinking is, what can I do? Because we get to transition into a new way of thinking, which is ultimately a new way of being. And when that's actually in our heart, it's going to come out our mouth. And when it comes out our mouth, it goes in her ears and in her eyes and eventually melts her heart. And they'll always come running back to you, because it is the 1% of the 1% of men. We teach you how to be the 1% of the 1% of men for life. Because whenever I take on a new client, I'm not taking the man on as a client. I'm taking on the marriage and the legacy that marriage will leave. Even if you don't have kids together, they're watching. Do you know how many millennials will say they're never going to get married, that they just want to live together or whatever, because they saw mom and dad get a divorce, and they saw mom and dad and step parents get a divorce and are divorced because nobody stood up for this. Working on your marriage is the easiest thing in the world to do if you have a step-by-step process where somebody says, stop working on the marriage. That's what's killing it, dummy. Let's do the opposite of what you feel like you should do. Let's do the opposite of what you think you should do. And let's stop working on the marriage. You have a wife that's left and filed for divorce. She has what's called confirmation bias, where she's already got some beliefs that she's telling herself to justify leaving the marriage. And you can do a million things right. If you go through some program or a 4-day class or something like that, you'll pick up some good things, and they will probably work if it's a good teacher. Unfortunately, the reason that those type of programs are touting 70% success rates, like that's something to brag about, is because it's not lasting change.